Hello everybody, you are very welcome to the virtual version of our information evenings. My name is Mrs. Conahan, for those who have not met me before, and I'm the principal here at St Paul's. I hope you've all been keeping well, and I have to say it's an absolute delight having your children back to school with us. It feels like a school again. Normally every year through September we would have an information evening for each of the year groups, and those who came last year will know that you do get to learn an awful lot in a very short space of time at those evenings. We will outline for you in this video some of the data points, the information and importance of data tracking, and of course some key points in the school year where we will need you to be supporting us and be aware of what's happening in your child's journey. Of course, it isn't the same as having you in school, and we do love seeing you in the building and having a chat to you, but that isn't to be, sadly. If there's anything in this video you're not sure of or you want to ask further questions about, please email the school office, or if you know the teacher's email address, please email them directly. Any queries that come through the school office will be, of course, forwarded to the relevant member of staff. I hope your child has settled into the new school year. It is quite different. There are lots of things in place, as you will know from my letters, but I'd like to thank you in preparing your children for coming back to school. We've got 100% compliance with masks, and most children have their own sanitisers and are using them really well. The school day and the school week looks so different for them. Of course, they're in zones and there's very little movement, but actually the children are fantastic, and I'd like to think it's because they're really pleased to be back with us. We're certainly delighted to see them. I'd like to wish you all the best, and I'd like to think also that there might be a point in the future this academic year I will get to see you face to face. But in the meantime, please do keep in touch. Let us know if there's anything we can help you with or support you with. And we will, of course, see you at some point. We'll let you get on with the video. Lots of bits of information. As I said, if you need to query or ask any questions, please do so. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Curran. I'm Vice Principal here at St Paul's, in charge of Key Stage for Achievement. It does feel very strange not being able to speak to you in person. It was only this time last year that I met many of you at the Year 10 Information Evening. I think it's fair to say that nobody could have predicted how the last academic year would have transpired. Can I also say how fantastic it has been over recent weeks to welcome our Year 11 students back, and I think I speak for staff, all of our staff, when I say that we're desperate for all of our Year 11 students to achieve well this academic year, and we're determined to support them in that journey. More than ever, as parents, I imagine you will be wanting to monitor the academic performance of your son or daughter throughout this academic year. So if I just talk you through the best ways in which to do this, of course, you may want to contact subject teachers throughout the year. However, Go for Schools remains the best forum in which to do this. Not only will it allow you to check things like positive and negative behaviour points, but it will also give you a summary of current assessment information. The last two columns, the current and mock examination columns, will be the most important to monitor. The current column is a reflection of the average performance of your son or daughter in each GCSE subject throughout Year 11. Every half term, all of our students will take part in a exam-based assessment in class. By the end of Year 11, we will have 6 bits of data information per subject, and this will feed into an average grade of those 6 assessments. This was critically important last year for subject teachers when they were looking at awarding centre assessed grades to be passed on for whole school moderation. So those tests, those in-class tests, those tests that perhaps in the past students may not have taken as seriously, are more important than ever this academic year. And I'd really appreciate that if you could share that message with your son and daughter of how important they are. Even more important, of course, will be that mock exam result. Every year we tell our students how important these mock exams may be, and we never imagined that, of course, they would be taking on the importance that they did, given what happened over the last 6 or 7 months. The mock exams this year will be at the last week of November and the first week of December, and will be the first time our students have had the experience of sitting in the hall and sitting a full mock paper. Of course, they were not able to sit the Year 10 mock examinations. They are extremely important, and of course the message is that real in-depth preparation needs to go into these mock exams when they come about, because of course we would like to think that all of these exams will be going ahead as normal as in previous years, and we sincerely hope, of course, that they do. But it may be that, of course, this current grade information and mock exam result information will take on even greater importance as the academic year unfolds, and it's important that all of our students are conscious of that. I'll just leave you with a very quick summary of what I've just said in terms of key information that you need to know regarding your child's achievement in Year 11. We have the current assessment grades that will feed into that current grade at the end of Year 11. The mini mocks that will be taking place. Firstly, the first week of October, all Year 11 students will have an in-class test. It will be an exam-based question from a past exam paper, graded with a GCSE grade and moderated within faculties and departments. Those mock exams I've mentioned in the last week of November and first 2 weeks of December. 2 important dates for you to put in your diaries: parents' evenings. We would like to think that we are able to hold normal parents' evenings, but we are planning to hold these parents' evenings virtually, should that not be possible. The first one taking place on Thursday the 12th of November, and parents' evening 2 on Tuesday the 23rd of February. And tracking, you will receive notification of when those tracking reports are ready. The first one being in October, the next December, and then 2 more in March and at the end of April. They will include the current grade information I've mentioned earlier on, a learning profile, which is a summary of the effort levels being displayed by each student per subject, and an actual predicted grade. So in the professional opinion of your child's subject teacher, what grade they believe they will go on to achieve at the end of Year 11. So as you can see, lots of information to take in, lots of information that we'll be sharing with students, and of course we really appreciate your support in getting home that message to your sons and daughters of the importance of these assessments in class, and of course the importance of these mocks and what they could mean in terms of GCSE achievement. We'll be working extremely hard to support, as I said, all of our Year 11 students in the coming months, and as I say, we appreciate your time this evening, and we wish you well. Please do get in contact should you have any queries at all.
Hello, this is Mr. Byrne, the head of maths here at St Paul's, and I'm just going to present a short guide to supporting your child for their GCSEs in mathematics. The summary of this presentation will take a form of looking at the structure of mathematics, which we are following, how we are arranging classwork with the current situations that's going on around us, exam preparation. This year obviously is Year 11 leading to their exams in the summer, hopefully. Homework, how it is organised, what is expected of our pupils, and the resources which you can use, which the student can use and you can use to support your child. So for GCSE, we will be following the AQA GCSE Maths course 8300. So if you want to look that up with Google, it will take you to the specification page, and you can read the 47-page document there. To summarise it, it will be a normal maths course followed by 3 90-minute papers at the end of Year 11 with 2 tiers, foundation and higher. Now, the diagram below just quickly sums that up. If you are following the higher tier, and that'll be for students who are in sets 1 and 2, and their paper will consist of content which is graded at 9 all the way down to 4, with a small couple of points to get a grade 3 if they were very unsuccessful. There is then the foundation tier, which is followed by sets 4 and 3. They will follow it, and their content goes from grades 1 to 5. You will see from this little diagram that there is an overlap. So the questions at the end of the foundation tier are the actual start of the higher level tier. And this is done this way to prevent us having an incredibly long exam. And obviously the exam is aimed at the students and the course they're following and their abilities. So, looking at classwork, and obviously we have had a completely unprecedented time in the last 6 months, obviously with COVID-19, which means that when we come to year 11, what will happen is they will start the first couple of weeks lessons where we will be doing a few what we call diagnostic lessons, where we are testing them with our questioning and seeing what the students can remember and where they're at. In a week or so, 2 weeks time, we will be doing a baseline testing, and that will be a bit more of a formal test where we can sort of get a grade and assess where the students have either gaps in their knowledge or certain things we need to work on. Lessons will then consist of looking at a basic of key skills, where we will use homeworks and a set of low stakes testing to identify with the pupils themselves about how to improve. And then as we progress through the GCSEs, we were looking more at extensive problems and looking at how they look at the problems and how they're reasoning and how they communicate those in lessons. So exam preparation is obviously part of the work that we could do in lessons. Study and revision skills are being taught constantly through our lessons, trying to guide our pupils in the best way and the most efficient way with which they can learn the material that's put in front of them. Assessment is a major part of this, and when we will be doing tests every half term, which covers all the content of the maths that they've covered since they started St. Paul's. This is to give them an accurate view of where they're at and not just on what they just did in the previous 5 to 6 lessons. We'll also do what we call low stakes testing this year, which will be every 2 weeks, and they will focus on skills. It's really important that students play an active role in this process, that when they get scores, they are looking at them and saying where they need to put extra work in, what they need to do, and work on those independently. Clearly, as the year goes on, there will be additional study time, revision sessions as we lead up to the GCSE examinations. Homework and revision, they are both the same things. Revision starts now. We don't wait till a couple of weeks before the exams before we start revising. We are constantly recapping what we have previously learned and moving forward. And that message should be made really clear to your children that revision starts now. People should be doing between 1 to 2 hours of independent study per week across all their subjects. That's a reasonable amount of work. Class teachers will be setting 2 tasks per week. One of them will be a skills-based task, which is effectively revising things that they should know and keeping those thoughts and skills quite fresh in their minds. The other one will be a task which is based on what they have been covering in lessons that week or the last 2 weeks. It's vital that these things are done and they are done on time, because it gives a student a very timely reminders of where they're at and what they need to work on. As we're coming to the end of this presentation, I just want to keep this message coming across to you that practice makes permanent. Revision is going to be difficult. Let's not kid ourselves. It is difficult for a child to sit down and keep going over things and working there. But if it's not difficult, nothing is really learned. And this is a trap that numerous students in the past have fallen into, that they will revise things that they are good at and things that they already know. This is not revision. This is just making themselves feel better. When we are revising, we are constantly looking at the things that we are not good at, and we're working at them to make them easy, and therefore we can then cross them off our list and then don't need to revise them because they have been learned. So some of the things to remember when supporting your child through their revision. Revision resources. There are revision guides. They can be bought from the office. You just ask your child what sets they're in, If they're in sets 1 and 2, they'll be looking at higher ones. If they're in 3 and 4, they'll be looking at foundation. Obviously, during the lockdown period, the maths department used extensively Corbett Maths, My Maths and MathsWatch. These are fantastic tools. They're online platforms. They will give lessons. They give explanations. It means students can keep going back over them, look at them again, look at the videos, look through the PowerPoints and the presentations, and it will then keep providing questions for them to practice. As I said before, maths, to revise maths, to get good at maths is about practice. It is not just about reading. Again, the best resource for all is the lessons themselves, and actually making that clear that your students get the most out of every lesson, putting 100% effort into everything they do. There. Again, practice makes permanent. I'll keep that message going. Maths is about doing. The more questions answered, the more familiar the wording, the exam questions becomes. And a key element here is talk about maths. Make them talk with their peers, talk with them. Ask them to speak to their teachers. If they can explain something in their own words to you, it means that they have a better understanding of it. And it's worth, when you're talking to them, ask them, how does that work? Could you explain how to do that to me? That very process of thinking through and articulating that process will be massively beneficial. As we come to the end of this presentation, I'm very often asked about the success at GCSE Maths and what is required, and there's a very simple answer. It's about how hard you are prepared to work. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any concerns, please contact your child's maths teacher. Their email addresses can be found on the school website, as can mine at the top of the list. And once again, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Good evening, my name's John Colley and I'm Head of English at St Paul's. As a Catholic school, we take very seriously our mission, not only as English subject specialists, but also as teachers who try to develop a full and morally aware student who can take an active and positive role in our world when they leave school. We study a range of texts from different time periods and cultures, and we try to develop cultural capital to help to make our students aware of the issues that face us all in our day-to-day lives. We want students to fill their academic potential, but also to be inspired to be lifelong readers and lifelong learners. In terms of details, our exam board is the AQA. I don't need to tell you, of course, that this year's Year 11 is in a very different position to most Year 11s that we've had going through school. Obviously, they have lost a lot of teaching time, they've lost a lot of contact time, and they'll be coming into Year 11 this year looking at an uncertain future. As things stand at the moment, it looks as though the English Literature GCSE might be cut by one of our books, one of our texts, which will be enormously helpful. But people are still talking about maybe moving the exams. So I've left the next English Literature slide as it is, because we're still not 100% sure of where things are currently. As soon as we are sure about things, we will obviously let you know and let the students know. We are in a position where we are, of course, trying to make students feel happy and safe and positive and healthy in terms of mental health and, of course, in terms of COVID. But also we're in a position where we need to make sure that students understand that they need to be really firing on all cylinders from the word go. What happened last year was some students were stuck. They hadn't worked as hard as they thought that they could have. They didn't get to do the GCSE exams, and therefore they were stuck with lower grades than they had anticipated. We need to make sure that this year's Year 11 do not suffer that same fate. We need to make sure that they are motivated, that they are positive, and that they know what they need to do in each assessment. The assessments, both in class and in terms of the mock exams, are going to be very important, because that is where we as staff get the evidence that we need in order to, if necessary, predict them a final GCSE grade. Please God, we won't need to do that again. hopefully we will go through the year healthy and happy and with our dates and exams as normal. But we literally do not know what will happen. So in order to decrease that uncertainty, what we need to do is to make sure we've got that evidence, and the evidence that we do have is all of a really high standard. And then we can really predict these students the high grades that their hard work will deserve. The AQA specifications which we follow should lead to all students coming out at the end of year 11 with 2 GCSEs, one called English Language and one called English Literature. The first one that we're going to look at is on the screen now. It's obviously their English Language, and it's split into 2 exam papers. There's no coursework, it's all exam, and the paper 1 is based around fiction and paper 2 is based around non-fiction, and you won't be surprised to hear that there are reading and writing sections on both papers. They're equally weighted, which means that they're worth exactly the same amount of marks, so it's 50% of the GCSE for paper 1 and 50% of the GCSE on paper 2. We obviously look at a wide range of texts and a wide range of examples and a wide range of writing styles in order to try to ensure that the students are fully prepared for whatever might come up. That's one of the differences between the English Language exam and most of the other exams, is that in most exams, of course, you know what's going to come up. You know what time period of history you've been studying, you know what type of geography you've been studying, so you know what's going to come up on the paper. In English, of course, that's not true. In English Language, we are a skills-based subject. We have absolutely no idea what kind of text or what kind of writing tasks are going to come up. So we have to study the full range in order to ensure that all of our students are fully prepared for the exams. Some students might tell you that that means that you can't do any revision for English Language. This is obviously absolutely not true, as I will go on to tell you in a moment when we take a look at our exam revision materials. The second GCSE that all students study is English Literature, and there are some details on the slide here now. This is slightly different from the English Language in that we are still very much a skills-based subject in literature, but here we have obviously studied the texts that are going to be on the exam. Again, we have 2 exam papers. The first one, paper 1 on the left, shows that the students need to study a Shakespeare play and a 19th century novel. Well, on paper 2, you can see the 3 bullet points there. We've got a more modern text plus some poetry, and then there is some unseen poetry as well in the final question. The exams are weighted slightly differently. Instead of 50-50, you've got a 40-60 split there, and we do have a choice of which texts to study within those areas. So, for example, with the Shakespeare play, some students might be studying Macbeth, some might be studying Romeo and Juliet, some might be studying Much Ado About Nothing. We try to choose the right text for the right group, and obviously we try to make all of the texts accessible and make all of the texts enjoyable, so that, as I mentioned earlier, we hope that students will take this with them in further life and continue to be interested in literature, continue to be readers, and continue to be lifelong learners. So those are the 2 GCSEs that students will be taking in English. There are many more details obviously on the AQA website, and there is a link to that on the subject page in the school website. We've purchased a number of excellent revision resources in recent years, and on the screen before you is one of them. This is York Notes Online, and we've purchased this for all students for GCSE English Literature revision. All of the key texts have their own page, and all students either have been given or will be given their own password and username in order to be able to access these revision resources for free. There is a huge wealth of knowledge and a huge wealth of practice opportunities on the York Notes websites. In fact, there's so much there, there's almost too much for students to be able to get through the whole lot. So teachers will be pointing students in the right direction and making sure that they get all of the key areas covered. One of our most popular revision resources is GCSE Pod. This has been really revived and rejuvenated over the last 12 months for students, and again this contains a lot of revision resources for English literature, but as you can see on the screen again here, there are also a lot of resources for English language GCSE. So as I said earlier, don't believe anybody that tells you that you can't revise for English language. As teachers, we will obviously provide a lot of revision opportunities for students, but there is also GCSE Pod that they can log on to at any time to brush up their skills or to try to extend those skills. We also make sure that everything is on Show My Homework, along with specific dates by which homework, revision needs to be completed. And obviously, if you need to get in touch with us, if you have any queries about revision or about homework or about progress in general, please feel free to get in touch with either myself, Mr. Colley, or with the English teacher of your son or daughter, and obviously we will do everything that we can together in order to push things forward and to help students to achieve their potential. There is a lot of useful information on the school website, and there is an English page there for you to have a look at if you require some more information. If you can't find what you're looking for, or if you just need something a little bit extra, do feel free, as I said before, to either get in touch with me or with your child's English teacher, and we will do everything that we can to help. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening.
In Year 11, your child will be studying either GCSE Combined Science or separate GCSEs in Biology, Chemistry and Physics, sometimes called Triple Science. Whichever route your child is studying, you can find detailed course content, specification information and examination information at the website below. At St Paul's, the exam board we use is AQA for Science. If at any point you want to discuss your child's progress or the course content, please email your child's science teacher directly or contact the head of faculty, Mrs Shakespeare. Students in Year 11 who are studying combined GCSE Science, sometimes referred to as double science, will be studying content for Paper 1 and Paper 2 in both Biology, Chemistry and Physics. The specific detail can be found at the AQA website. Topics in biology include cell biology, bioenergetics and ecology. In chemistry we will study organic chemistry, atomic structure, the periodic table and bonding. And in physics, topics such as electricity, energy, forces and waves are studied. Generally, the Paper 1 content is covered in Year 10, and in Year 11 students will be studying Paper 2 content and revising content from the Paper 1 topics. Students can be entered for higher tier examinations or foundation tier examinations, and tiering decisions will be made in the light of prior attainment, mock examination results and progress in lessons. For separate GCSE Science, or Triple Science as it's sometimes called, again, the topics are divided into Paper 1 examination and Paper 2 examination content. For example, GCSE Biology is split into Paper 1 content of cell biology, organisation, infection and response and bioenergetics, and Paper 2 content covers homeostasis and response, inheritance, evolution and ecology. Paper 1 content will have been studied in Year 10, and Paper 2 content will be studied in Year 11, while Paper 1 content is revised. If at any time you would like to find more information, the AQA website is a good place to start, or please contact your child's science teacher directly. In Year 11, we know that revision is extremely important. Revision can be quite time consuming, and here are some resources we recommend that can be helpful. The revision guides are available through Parent Pay and the school office, and we recommend that students purchase a revision guide which they can annotate and use to help support their learning. For each of the topics studied, your child will be given a rote learning knowledge organiser fact sheet via Show My Homework and also in lessons. These are really useful for students to tick off key facts that they've learnt and make sure that they have secured the key ideas for each topic. We will be doing lots of past paper practice questions, and we have those available for students individually to choose or as part of our lessons. We also find some students use BBC Bitesize, My Science, S-School, and in particular GCSE Pods, which we think students find very useful to help support their learning. Before examinations, we will try and support your child to organise their revision time with revision timetables to guide students as to topics to revise leading up to their exams. Your child will have the opportunity to practice taking exam questions. We find mock exams are really useful for students to practice revision, to understand the topics that they need to study, and also to experience taking exam papers under examination conditions. Preparation and revision for mock exams should be a good reflection of preparation and revision for the terminal exams in the summer. Mock exam data will be useful for us in making decisions about tiering, and so it's really vital that students take mock exams seriously and do their best with their revision for them. The mock exams we do in Year 11 will allow your child to practice Paper 1 content and Paper 2 content prior to going into the summer exams. Students will be informed of mock exam dates and times, and also students will be told which topics to revise and how to use their knowledge organisers, revision guides and lesson notes. We know that revision in Year 11 can be time consuming. We recommend that students organise their revision in bursts of about half an hour with plenty of breaks in between. Revision is most effective done in a quiet workspace, free from distractions, and with revision guides, knowledge organisers and lesson exercise books close at hand. Completing practice past paper questions, reviewing mock examinations, going through homeworks, and of course learning the knowledge organiser key facts is a really good way of revising. We're here to help you and your child during the examination period and through the entire of Year 11. So please do contact us, firstly by contacting your child's science teacher directly via email or telephone, or contacting the head of faculty, and we will be happy to support you and answer any questions you have as we work together with your child in Year 11 to complete their science GCSEs.
Welcome to the Year 11 Parent Information presentation. The aim of the presentation is to give you all of the information that you'll need in order to support your child in their journey through Year 11. Obviously, this year is one of huge importance for many different reasons, and the quicker that we all have the information that we need and we have absolute clarity on the expectations for Year 11, the easier we can make this very challenging year for them. The Year 11 team that's here to support Year 11 specifically is myself, Miss Warrilow,
I'm an assistant principal and the SLT link for Year 11. My involvement with Year 11 is to have an overview of their learning, their behaviour within lessons, their attendance throughout school and obviously punctuality to school, and to ensure that they have every opportunity that they need this year in order to engender success. Ms Weatherhog is Progress Leader and Head of Year 11. Her role is to support the tutor team. Your child's tutor obviously will be known to you and they are the first point of contact, but Ms Weatherhog is there to have an overview of all of the systems and ensure that individuals within the year group are fully supported and that their learning is fully resourced. Any problems at all, you need to contact Ms Weatherhog. Mr Robinson is the Assistant Progress Leader for Year 11. Within his role, he mentors numbers of students, both academically and pastorally. He also has great involvement in terms of careers for Year 11 and supporting students with their post-16 applications this year. Now, our goals for the students are ultimately and most importantly that they are happy, safe and well. Now, we measure that and monitor that in a number of different ways, both through their experience at school, their attendance, their learning and their presentation on a day-to-day basis. A further goal is that all young people at St Paul's become the very best that they can be. We want to enable students and support them to develop as fully and as well-rounded as they can so that they're ready for the world of work. We also hope that all young people at St Paul's achieve really well and that they're prepared for the next stages in their life. So whether that's through their post-16 applications, whether that's through interview practice throughout this year, or support and guidance around the kinds of courses that are best suited for them. Now, one of the most important things and one of the best ways really to support your child is to take an active interest in their studies and also in their assessments and also in terms of what it is they need to do to get to where they need to be. So how do you know how your child is getting on a day-to-day basis? Well, Go for Schools obviously is the first point of call. Now, if you have a look at Go for Schools, you will see the subjects listed along with an aspirational target. Now, the target is the school's assessment of the absolute minimum grade that your child should get. By no means at all is the aspirational target a ceiling for your child. They can obviously exceed the aspirational target by however many. It's just that that's kind of the baseline level. The current target that you'll see there in colour is where your child is currently at. Now, that grade is calculated on a range of different assessments which are input into Go for Schools by their teachers. Now, if the grade shows up in red, then that indicates that your child is slightly below that aspirational target. If it's in yellow, then that grade is one below. If it's in green, that means your child's target's at the right level. And if it's in purple, it means that your child is currently working above their aspirational targets. Their learning profile will be numbered from 1 to 4. Now, that will be input into Go for Schools 3 times a year around your child's tracking date. The learning profiles indicate the level there, and you can see sort of halfway down on the left-hand side learning profile and then the definitions according to each score. So a score 1 means highly motivated, consistent, great attitude. Score 2 is well motivated, regularly demonstrating effort, but obviously with some room for improvement. Grade 3 is an average effort. Improvement is needed in some aspects. So at the point where you're starting to see learning profiles of grade 3, it really would be worth getting in touch with your child's teacher to see what it is really that your child could be doing outside of class to exceed their learning inside the classroom. Score 4 indicates real area for concern. Now, on a score 4, your child's teacher will be getting in touch with you, if not already, because it does indicate below average and there's a requirement there for significant improvement needed. So where there are causes for concern, obviously a dialogue between you and your child's teacher is definitely something that you want to engage in. The actual predicted grade on the right hand side is your teacher's assessment really, your child's teacher's assessment of where your child should be when the exam season begins. So it may be that the actual predicted grade is higher than the current, which does indicate that your child's teacher expects your child to make progress between the current grade, so now, and the actual predicted grade. At the bottom there, you can see your child's attendance, percentage attendance. really, really important in year 11 that we maximise, particularly given that we've had so much time off, that we maximise time inside the classroom where possible. Now, reflecting back, in terms of important dates for you and for your diary, the first assessment period, I mentioned those half-termly assessments for Year 11, begins on Monday the 5th of October. Now, these students, Year 11 students, will be tested within the classroom. Really, really important week for Year 11, given that last year's Year 11's final grades were calculated based on some of these half-termly assessments and the accumulation of the marks that were entered into Go for Schools throughout the year. These marks will be recorded on Go for Schools, so you'll be able to go on and see how they've fared and achieved. Mock exams will be taking place within the Christmas term. Dates are yet to be confirmed. Students should be preparing, obviously, for these assessments in advance, so please pop that into your diary Monday the 5th of October and remind your child and engage in dialogue, really, in regards to the assessments and assessment period. Now, I mentioned earlier about applications for post-16 study. Post-16 study requires an application even if your child is studying at St Paul's. We will be conducting interviews. So our careers, information and advice and guidance staff, who are called Taz Gahir and Zoe McDonough, they're working with the students in Year 11 to ensure that the application process for post-16 goes smoothly. Now, at this point, your child should be just completing their personal statements, and please do have a look at them, discuss them with your child. They are really, really important documents because they are the selling point for your child as they apply for their post-16. They are the point at which your child should be able to discuss their aspirations for the future, their strengths, their weaknesses, their interests, and why it is that they wish to study the particular course or route that they've decided to apply for. Where will they study? Well, obviously, St Paul's is a very popular choice for Year 11 students. Leicester College also remains our second popular choice, who focus more and specialise on vocational courses. But obviously, you do need to ensure that you look around and make sure that your child is applying for a college or post-16 provider best suited to them and their needs. What will they study? Well, obviously A-levels again remains the most popular choice, but there are, as I mentioned, a number of vocational courses and pathways. There are as well T-levels, technical levels. Now, they were supposed to be introduced in September 2020. We are awaiting further information about those at present. Apprenticeships is obviously a further route, remains a popular choice for children. This year, though, has been a very difficult year for apprenticeships for various reasons. The National Apprenticeship site is something to have a look at. They will give lots more information, but we will have apprenticeship providers coming into school and working with students on a one-to-one basis to guide them through applications to support apprenticeship application process.
Hello, I'm Miss Weatherhog. In terms of attendance to school, we highlight to students that absence from school can have significant impact on achievement. Missing just 17 days of school across Year 11 has been shown to reduce students' grades in all subjects by at least one, which could mean they miss out on their first choice of course when they finish their GCSEs. We expect an attendance rate of 95% or above, and we work closely with the Educational Welfare Service to monitor the attendance of every student in Year 11 every week. When their attendance starts to drop, we investigate why, and there is a clear link between attendance and exam success. The message we give to our students is clear. We understand that genuine illness and medical appointments are obvious reasons to be off school. However, feeling a bit under the weather, having a cold and general aches and pains are not reasons to be absent. The guidance surrounding COVID-19 is that if a student is displaying symptoms, they should be kept at home and a test arranged at the earliest opportunity. What we also say to students is if they are genuinely ill, we will send them home, but they should try their best to be in school. If in doubt, come in and see how it goes. We have high expectations for our students in Year 11, and there are many ways that you can support your child at home to manage their increasing workload. Time management is essential. Students need to be keeping track of their deadlines and on top of when things need to be handed in. Assessments can be used to target specific subject areas. Time limits for revision, screen time and social time can really help students to find a balance between work and home life. And if possible, create a quiet space for revision and study to separate their personal and work lives. Studying for GCSEs can be stressful for some students. Stress can manifest itself in many ways, for example tearfulness, insomnia, a lack of appetite or eating all the time. Alternatively, young people may show their stress by socialising too much or withdrawing from some social activities altogether. To add to this, blind panic, which some people experience when they are under pressure, can result in inactivity, which can often be misinterpreted as laziness. Maintaining positive well-being is really important across Year 11, and the ways in which we can do this are through securing physical well-being, with students being encouraged to exercise regularly, limiting screen time, opening for dialogue, checking in regularly, and if in doubt, Young Minds is a great place to go to start. There are many ways in which you can help support your students at home. We encourage resilience in school, and therefore it's important to reward effort rather than results. Setting manageable targets will also help with this. Monitoring food and exercise ensures students are maintaining their physical well-being, and it may be helpful to help students create a timetable which encourages balance between days off, downtime and their work life. We emphasise to students the importance of starting revision early. We encourage them to make revision active using flashcards or mind maps. GCSE Pod is also really great with lots of videos to help students at home. You can support them by building in rewards and encouraging them to set short-term realistic goals and manageable targets for revision. Students are regularly taught the revision techniques from learning scientists, and we encourage them to use a balance between all of these 6 techniques across their revision studies rather than just focusing on copying notes out of revision guides and exercise books, which they tend to focus on. In terms of online safety, there are 4 specific areas we can focus on. Conduct. Children may be at risk because of their own behaviour, for example by sharing too much information. Content. Age inappropriate or unreliable content can be available to children. Contact. Children can be contacted by bullies or people who groom or seek to abuse them. And commercialism. Young people can be unaware of hidden costs and advertising in apps, games and websites. It's important to open up a dialogue with your child about their internet access.
Thank you very much for your attention this evening. Appreciate that there was a lot of information for you to take in, but it's all very, very important stuff. As Mrs. Conahan mentioned at the start of the presentation this evening, please do keep in touch. It is going to be a very, very different year for all of us as teachers, for students and of course for parents in education, and we obviously really want to work with all of our stakeholders to ensure that the best possible outcomes for the young people in our care. Once again, thank you, and fingers crossed we'll be able to meet again soon in person. Take care. Good night.